Our graphics guys went nuts today because the Dow is now at it. There we go. Thank you. That is the highest the Dow has ever been. It broke a record that goes back almost 2 years. Scott Martin is here to celebrate not only that record, but the graphics that go with it. Scott, always good
Where's
to see.
the champagne?
Yes, indeed. Well, I already drank it.
It's that kind of day. We're back with Jay Kobaduri and Michael Hitzik, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who covers both the intersection of business and politics with the LA Times and a lot more. He recently wrote about the continuing riddle of why Biden doesn't get credit for an improved economy. Jay, you get the home court advantage as a frequent guest. Your thoughts?
Right. Well, I don't think it's a riddle. The Biden economy is great. When people say they are unhappy with the Biden economy, what they're really saying is they're unhappy with his age. They simply do not want to look like ageist bigots who are constantly harping on how this guy is too old to be president. So they're justifying their disapproval by saying, well, I don't like the economy either.
You think they're insecure when the pollsters call? I mean, it's supposed to be an anonymous call, you know.
That's not, well, you have to understand how prejudicial feelings work. People often lie to themselves as well as lying to others about their actual feelings when it comes to bigotry and prejudice.
Michael, did you know it was going to get this deep right off the bat?
Well, I'm certainly attuned to the political issues here. I think there are two economic issues that really play into this. And one of them is something that Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, mentioned just yesterday when he gave his press conference after the Fed decision on interest rates. And that's that even to the extent that people are aware that inflation has come way down over the last 6 months or a year, what they are looking for is for prices to come down. And that's not happening everywhere. It's happening in some sectors. Certainly gasoline has come down. In parts of this country, you can get a gallon of gasoline in the $2 range or $2 to $3. Fuel oil, as we enter the winter, that's come down. Used cars are cheaper. The inflation rate on food is really very low, but prices of food haven't gone back to what they were in 2019, and that's what I think a lot of people focus on. Now the other aspect of this is that what we know just from history is that people's perception of the economy always has a lag, especially when there's an inflection point, going from high inflation to low inflation, from no growth to high growth. And I think that's where we are right now, that in a few months.
So let me jump in, Michael.
4 months.
What portion is the price thing, and what portion is the lag, and what, if any, portion is the echo chamber we discussed? Just a drill on your analysis.
Yeah, well, I think the echo chamber actually has a lot to do with it. I mean, as you showed, if you are listening to Fox News, you're being told constantly that the Biden economy is a disaster, although you don't get many details about what's disastrous about it. And I think if you are watching TV generally or listening to radio, you're getting a lot of advertisements from investment promoters who are basically constitutionally lean toward painting the economy as bad so that they can sell you on something new. They can say that, we know the economy stinks, so you should buy gold or you should buy Bitcoin or something like that. And that gets drummed into people's mind. But over time, I think, more of the public will recognize that things are actually pretty good.
Check.
Well, people are not acting in terms of what they're saying, they're feeling. We are in the midst of a record Christmas shopping season. Business startups are at an all-time high. If people were really worried about inflation in the economy, those things would not be occurring. What I think is happening is people are claiming an unhappiness with the economy that's really about how they feel about Joe Biden and his age.
So let's put a number up and see what you say about this. The polling on who do you trust on the economy, which you're saying could just be this leaning indicator. Trump at 47%, Biden at 36%. Your colleagues, some of your former colleagues at the White House, they're banging their head against the wall looking at this. I mean, this is driving them crazy. You're saying to only look at this on what it's claimed to be is a misread.
Yeah, people rationalize their prejudicial feelings in different ways. Lots of times people claim to believe in conspiracy theories when they really don't believe in them. They say, I support Trump because of the deep state. They don't want to say, hey, there's too many brown people in my neighborhood. That's the way prejudice works. Look, I can attest to this. I'm an Indian American. I'm a Husky gentleman.
Husky gentleman?
Well, yes. People,
do you feel you're facing sometimes that, it's not a fair world for everything?
Yeah, it is. I mean, certainly if you feel that way, people judge you based on your body, based on your appearance. And that prejudice comes out in ways that are not wholly rational, that are not wholly forthright.
Right.
But they do come out. And so when people say they are unhappy with the Biden economy, what they're really unhappy with is his age.
Really
and I think Joe Biden needs to talk frankly with the American people about
do more on that to tackle that.
Yeah, about his age. Yeah.
Michael, do you see how real Che keeps it?
Yeah, and I think Che really put
hold on.
his finger on
I still got a
another
question.
thing.
I still got a question, which is you can respond to that, but also for you, Michael, I want to throw up some Democratic division here in the related point, which is interesting. The House Democrats, they got to run their own races. It's not like the Congress is popular. And some of them say they're ditching this Bidenomics messaging, even amidst all the data we just discussed. So your thoughts on that and whatever else you wanted to respond to, Michael.
Yeah, I think Bidenomics, maybe it's got a hangover of sort of negative connotation, but I think that will change as people's recognition of what's happening in the economy changes. And going to the point that Chai made, if you look at what people do as opposed to what they say, and especially what they tell pollsters, they are buying, they are treating this economy as though it is healthy. We had economic growth in the last quarter of an annualized 5.2%. That's the consumer economy at work. And what we see, I think, in a lot of opinion polls is people saying, well, things are fine for me, but for the economy as a whole, they're not so great. So they are really reacting to sort of the vibes that are out there.